evening, everyone. Yeah, for this evening, we are going to look at finding elements in Java. But however, I will start as much as possible to go to the previous one that we've done, starting actually from scratch. So, but we are going to be getting our code from the repository that I've already created. So we just kind of clone or download that particular repository. I will show you what you need to do. So just go along with me. Okay, so let's start now. So first thing you need to do is to go to this particular repository, which I'm going to send across to everyone. So if you can go to that repository, so what you need to do now is to, I would say, if you are at work, you would require to clone it. But because this is my repository, you will not be able to push anything into it, basically. But in that sense, you might need to create your own repository. What I would advise you to do is download. Click on download, okay? So you click on download. So that should download that for you, okay? So what you now need to do, go to the location where you downloaded it to. So my download folder. So unzip it into a location. Okay, so this is my unzipped one. So copy that and go to your C drive, create a location. I would create a folder here, and I'll call it, let's say, blue sky, or perhaps just dump it there anyway. So I think you can dump what you've downloaded at this point. So it's okay for you guys. You can download, you can dump it as your C drive. I would advise you to not to put it into program or into document file, user, or something like that, because that has got its own complexity in terms of how the folder is structured. So make sure you go to your C drive. I quickly do that again. So once you go to your download folder and you've already downloaded that particular file, so let me go back a bit. So this is the file I downloaded. So you can copy that particular file. I have unzipped it. So once again, so just unzip. So that is the unzip folder, which is in my download folder. Copy that file, put it in your C drive, or create a blue sky folder in your C drive. I would advise you to do that. Create a blue sky folder in your C drive and then paste what you've copied. This is file right now. Okay. So in this file, this is what I have copied over. So what you can now do is go to your IntelliJ, open your IntelliJ. So open IntelliJ. Okay. Okay. So once your IntelliJ open, go to File, Open. Then once it's opened, go to that location. It's going to be C Blue Sky. If you already created a Blue Sky folder, then look for that particular file. So this is the file, I think, yeah. So you can open it and then go to open the POM for that one. Yeah. So that is a Blue Sky find element Selenium example master. So that is the one. So go to POM and then click on OK. That should ask you if you want to open it as a project file? Yes, of course. You can click on that. Then I want to open it in this window. Okay, so that should take you to this point, right? So once you have that, you can click on that folder to expand. So you should have the idea folder, SRC folder, and target. Target is not important. If you don't have the target, that's fine. You don't need to worry. So, but later I think we might have to remove the target. So, okay, the most important folder that you're looking for is the SRC. I said last week that in most of in other archetype, you might have main and test. So main is where your developer will put their file, and test is what you are going to be using for your test framework. For in this particular file that or this particular project that you downloaded, you only have the test package. So that to make it simple, because I've seen in the time past that people start writing in the main and then there's complications. You don't know which was the difference. So I just kept this simple. So you expand the test folder, okay? So then you have the two folders. One is Java, one is resources. Under resources, you create your feature files. So this is where your feature files are going to be. So we're still going to go through how to do it from scratch, actually. So, but now just bear with me and go along that. So your feature files will be created in this particular folder, right? So then you have the Java package. So where you have your step definitions, because they are going to be Java codes that you need to put in there. As we know that our feature files are just text, basically. For instance, if I open this, it's just text. So then for each of this particular line, there is a corresponding Java code behind it, actually, in your step definition. So we go through how to do this in a moment. So now this is also, you have your test runner. This is very, very important and powerful because this is one that actually makes sure your feature file actually binds with your step definition. So in your step test runner, you will have the Cucumber plugin imported. So, and also you have the Cucumber options and you have the features. So this particular tag will actually tell you that this is where my feature files are stored. If your feature files are not stored in this location, or maybe you created a new folder and you omitted the S, you need to change it here, basically. So this is where it's going to say my feature files are stored in this location: SRC, test, resources, and features. As you can see, if I collapse all this, SRC, test, resources, features. So that is what it's telling me. And now it's also telling me that, okay, for my features also, please glue them to my step definition folder. So like I said, that this is going to be looking at your Java package. So your Java package, it will be starting from your Java, you should have a step definition. So it's going to be looking at all the files in that particular folder as your step definition, and they should be Java classes. Okay, so then you have some tags. We're going to talk about tags actually later, so and how they are used within your feature files, but leave that for now. Okay, then the next one I want to speak about also now is your target files. You don't need to worry about this. Anytime you clean your files from here, your target folder is recreated. It can be safely deleted, and once you delete it and you clean it, it would reappear again. Some also last week I mentioned the git ignore file. So that we have, you can actually ask it to ignore the target folder. So a sample of the git ignore is this one. We can say it should ignore anything in the target folder. So we can actually put it here and say it should ignore that. So I will leave it for now, not to complicate issues. So then also one thing that you need to know is from last week now, because of the issue that people had, I have now brought the Gecko driver into the project. So once you download this project, everything is inclusive. You don't need to worry about the location of the Gecko driver. So you are going, because we are going to be using Firefox. So as time goes on, we also bring Chrome driver and IE drivers. So, but what we would do is we would also create another folder somewhere in our test resources to cater for the folder. So I don't want to, you don't need to worry about the folder structure right now. Before the end of this session, we are going to talk about a better structure, but I just want you to understand the concept of the automation and how it works. So, and yeah, so you have the Gecko driver, which you're going to be calling at every particular time. So, and it's already added here. You don't need to worry about this one. So the next important file is this one, your pom.xml file. This is very, very important because this is actually defines this particular project that you are doing. So let me start from here. So your group ID, we're going to look at this basically, actually, when we start to create our test framework from scratch. But it will be good for you to look at them, familiarize yourself with them, group ID and my artifact ID and the snapshot. This actually define your project. And because we are using Maven compiler, so you will need these properties as well set. There are some dependencies that are required. Cucumber Java is also very, very important because we are going to use Cucumber. So we are going to be using Cucumber, and also we're going to be using the JVM dependencies as well. As in this particular class, we're going to also use TestNG. It's a very powerful tool for reporting. So, and because we are going to be using it with Cucumber, so you will need this particular dependency as well. Last week, I actually told you how to get this latest version. So you could just go to Maven repository. If you go and say, okay, let's say just Google for Maven repository. So, okay, let's say Maven repository. And then let's say what you are looking for from what you've seen that we've used. Let's say I'm looking for TestNG. How do I know this basically? So you just go to TestNG and you search for TestNG rather on your in there, and you click on this one. So TestNG, and I'm looking for the Maven one. So let's say 7.3 Maven. So as you can see, this is what I'm looking for. So I'll just copy this. It's okay to copy everything. So when you copy everything, you can as well paste it here. But you don't need to do this because it's already there for you. So, and if I go back to where it is, so the latest version is 7.3.0 right now. So bear in mind, so if you change the version, you need to also ensure that all other places like this particular Cucumber TestNG, the version has to correspond. So you need to go and do the same thing for that one so that you get the corresponding version that can work with this. So I'm going to leave it for now. I just need you to know that sometimes if you need to upgrade your POM, that's how to do it. So you just go And you can see there's no much of difference on what we have here and what we have here. So you don't need to worry about the scope. That you can safely remove. That's fine. So, but what you can actually see right now is we've kind of, the only thing that's changing is the version. This is more recent actually. So for next week, I'll try to update and you can see the latest version. So to be used. So okay. So now this is in terms of the structure. So the next one is the README. The README is where you put your information about your repository. So, and any other information that you need. So that's fine, or what you want to display to others. So, and you have your test.ng file. This is very, very important. So as we go along in reporting, I will let you know. But one thing that you need to know here is this particular bit, basically. So this should actually tell you where your test runner is and what is called. So if your test runner has got a different name, you need to change it here, basically. So like we have our test runner class as this under our Java class. If your test runner is in a different package, maybe you call your package runner or utility and you put the test runner inside that particular folder, you need to make sure that it is reflected here, basically. So that is that. Any question before I go? Okay, cool. So now let me close all this stuff. So with this, you should be able to safely download and use your code, basically. So now, okay, once you've downloaded and you got your stuff, basically. So I think I will leave the pushing for later, to be honest. So let's do that later. So you've got that downloaded. So the next thing that you need to do is, okay, let's try to go to our test and see. So let's go to the first test, this one. Okay, so let's try to run it first, show that it's working before we start to add more tests. Okay, all right, cool. That's brilliant. So what this test is doing, this test is just basically navigating to blueskycitadel.com, and then I'll change this one. So you only go to blueskycitadel.com, click on automation testing form, and then enter a single line text. So that is what this particular test is going to do. So, and you can actually know what goes under the hood of that particular test. So if you see, you can press Alt Enter, Alt Enter. So and I don't want that. Sorry. So yeah, Alt Enter will display the options that you have, but I don't want to convert it into outline, basically, so you don't need to worry. So Alt Enter at every particular time, you can bring, or you can use your Alt Enter to actually see what different options that you have. But this is not, we're going to use it later, but this is not applicable to us. But now, to actually check what the step definition that this particular one is running, you can right click and then you go to normally I use implementation or declaration of usage. I think each one of them should take you to where that step definition is. So if you click on that, that takes you to this particular step definition, and you can see that is the step. This is the code that particular this line is going to run. This line is going to go and it's going to say, okay, declare your properties, set your properties, and it's a Gecko driver of WebDriver. So, but as you can see now, from the one you saw last week, you see the C or driver. So this is now referencing your project basically. So you just need to put that like that. So which is fine. Then the next one is to declare your driver. So we are going to use Firefox Driver. So this is very, very important. So this driver is basically, call it an errand boy, basically. It's going to do a lot of work for you. It's going to drive you to different places, basically. So you would be calling the driver. So get set, it's your driver. You have to make sure it takes you to different destination. The first destination that we are going to be telling the driver to take us to is blueskystarlet.com. So for you to do that, you just need to say driver.getblueskystarlet.com. We've seen this one last week. So the other thing that the driver can do for you, if you just say driver dot, you can see a lot of things that you can say. You can find the element, it can get you can close it, you can find elements. So I'm going to quickly explain a bit of all these particular methods that you can do with drivers. So one, let's say driver, you see find elements that allows you to find any element in the DOM of a particular website. So, and you have the get, which you will use to actually navigate to a particular place. And you have the close. We are going to use this tonight. So that when our driver is opened, is able to close safely, so that we don't have different browser open at every particular time. So, and we have the find elements, which is different than to the find element. This is an interview question. They might ask you, what is the difference between find element and find elements? So if you use the find element, it's going to find the first element that meets your criteria. But if you use find elements with the one with the S, it's going to look through your DOM and it's going to find as many elements that meet that particular your search criteria. So, but this one will return one element for you, but this one will return a list of elements. So basically, as you can see, that's where you have the return type as a list, and you have return type as this one as a web element. So for a get and a close, it doesn't return anything for you because it's basically like it just performs the actions. So you can also get the current URL of a particular page that you are in. You can get the source of that particular page. You can get the title of that particular page, and this will return a string for you. You can also get the window handle and also window handles, which is going to be an array. So you can manage your driver, and you can navigate as well, and you can do a queue of your driver. So, and there are other ones. I would say these are the most one that you are going to be using, but there are other ones as well, which I'm going to mention quickly. So, which is switch to. So basically, you can switch between one what's it called, one browser or one window or one frames and the other. So, and yeah, notify equal. So basic, okay, this is not widely used actually. So the next one is going to be the wait. So sometimes your uh, browser, you might need to actually ask your browser to wait for some commands or to wait for a page to load. So in that regard, you will say driver.wait, and then you will put your number of milliseconds that you want your driver to wait. However, this is not recommended. I will tell you later why that is so when we talk about the wait. There are different ways to use the wait, because this is kind of telling your browser to driver to wait, even if the operation is already finished. It's still going to wait for that particular milliseconds that you've declared. So It's also possible that the operation is not yet finished, but it's because if the time is already, if it's already a timeout, it's going to start to continue, and your code can fail because of that, because that operation that you're waiting for is not yet finished. So this is not the recommended one, but I can say for a new starter, you're allowed to use it for you to get grip of how this is going to work. So basically, that is the main thing that you need to know in your driver. So you need to know how these are used. It is very, very important. You're going to be using them at every time. Okay. So let's go to our next line, which is now click, basically. So if you go to now, okay, quickly, I want someone to, if you can go to blueskycitadel.com, blueskycitadel.com, and we want to automate this basically. So the first thing that we need to do is to click, or is to first go to this particular page, then click on automation test form. Then that should take us to this page. And now we want to enter something here, single line text. So after that, we leave this one for now. So I would enter email, I will enter password. We'll talk about those ones later. So then we'll try to click on this screen as well and click on this particular one as well. So we talk about the drop down. We can click on it, but we'll talk about the drop down later. So, but today we're going to also talk about different ways that you can actually identify or find this particular text box that you want to enter your text into. So there are different ways that you can actually find them. So that's what we're going to focus our it's going to be focused for tonight. So, okay, if you have any question, please do type it. I know, and if you think I'm too fast, also let me know. Okay, cool. All right. So now the next thing for you to do, let's go to our code, is okay. Now we want to enter that. So let me go to this step once again. Go to, and for you guys, sometimes I normally use the screen, the menu, because it's easy for people to follow. So, but if you are very good with shortcut, it already here. So for it, you can say Control B, Control Alt and B to actually get in there. So for instance, from here, if I say Control and B, so I get to where I am going. So, but for tutoring, I'm always using something visual so that people know what I am clicking on. So, okay, now this is one way. So, okay, let's talk about different ways that you can identify or find your elements in a DOM. So now, okay, cool. So now, when you're the first thing, let's go to the home page first. Okay, we said from the home page we want to click on this. How do you do that? One, we know how to click, how to navigate. Okay, so last week we navigated to Key Street. Now we are on Blue Sky Citadel.com. So the next thing that we need to do is to click. So for you to do that, you need to right click on the screen. So one thing I want you to do is copy that particular location, open Chrome. I always recommend that you do Chrome, right? It's very good. So, and one thing I'm going to teach you tonight, please make sure you pay attention and also look at what you are going to be copying is very, very important, because I was at an interview, the guy was asking me to do this by hand and I'm using this particular inspect element too. So it's very, very important to look at what you are going to be copying. I will be telling you what you need to take notice of. So let's right click. When you right click on that location, right, on that particular element, you can click on inspect. So when you click on inspect, it takes you to that particular location. If you see the screen like this, I would advise you to quickly extend it a bit so that what you are looking for is displayed. And if you are struggling, I think you can click on that 3 buttons and then dock your inspect element, inspect window at the bottom of your page. Maybe that might make your life easier. So as you can see in my own case now, I've brought it down so I can see what I am clicking on. So now if I do right click and I say inspect element, it takes me directly to there. So once I click there, as you can see, is highlighted. So if you click at the top, you can see those things are highlighted for you as I move my mouse. So you know which part of the DOM you are in. So now this is a link that I want to click, right? So there are different ways to actually identify this particular element. The first and simple way, because is a link. Because it's a link, I can say you should find it by the link itself, basically. So bear in mind, if it's not a link, you cannot use this approach, right? You cannot say find a text box by link because it's not a link. So, but if it's a link, I can say, okay, copy that, okay, and go to my code and say, yeah, please. I go into my code. Let me comment this one out. So I can say, driver, yes, Mr. Driver. He will ask me, what do you want out of all these options that go for you? I can say, yes, Mr. Driver, I want you to find an element for me. Okay, find element. It's going to ask me the question, how, by how, basically. And I can say, oh, okay, that's fine. Please find it by okay. And say, okay, by what? You can say, okay, dot link text, basically. Please bear in mind the difference between this by link text and link text. So if you are going to be using by.link text, this is what you need to use, please. So some people get confused. So by link text, by dot link text, by dot link text. That's what you need to click on. So, and it's okay by link text. So it's actually telling you, okay, what text are you looking for? That's what it's saying. Link text, what text? So, and I can say, okay, in a string now, I put 2 string quotes. You put them, you make sure it's in quotes. So automation, for the sake of, so that I don't copy and paste, automation, what is it? Automation testing form. Automation testing form. So basically, look at that particular page and find and click on any text that's got automation testing form. And no, it's okay, find it out for me, basically. That is what this is going to do. So then you're going to ask you, okay, if I find it, what am I going to do with it? You are not going to tell it, okay, if you found it, please click on it. And you put your dot click at the end. Then you have your, because it's a command, and in Java, every command you have to tell the computer that, yeah, I've already finished my command. It's like walking talkie, like you said, alpha, beta, go, alpha, beta, over. So your semicolon is basically like saying over to the computer, to the compiler, saying I am done basically with my command. So that is your command. So let's assume now we also want to click on about page, okay? And the same thing applies basically. So you just need to say driver dot find element by dot link text. So open and close quotes, home. And after you found it, what are you going to do? You click. And that's it. Another thing also, let's say we also want to click on the event as well. So you would do the same thing. So this time around, because I already know is the same pattern, I'm going to just copy and paste. So copy that and change it to about. Oh, okay. Yeah, about. And also do the same thing for so I'll do the same thing for event as well. So this code is just going to bear in mind this is just for testing anyway. So okay, because I'm also writing this in a different step definition. So quickly, let me quickly retrace my step, and so that I can put it in the right step definition that are required. So let's say before this, when I click on this, I want to, let's say I want to force also say when I click on the let me know. Let me put that in the giving clause, okay? So because it's just like kind of pre-condition, and I click on the home link, okay? So this is now my step basically, and I want to click on the home link. So as you can see, it's giving me this particular bulb. When I click on it, it's going to say, do I want to create my step definition, or do I want to create all step definitions? I want to say, okay, yeah, I want to create my step definition. It's going to ask me, do I want to create a new file, or I want to use the old step definition? Or since, let's say, yeah, I want to create a new one, okay? So, or you can use the old one. Okay, if you create a new one, okay, for the sake of just to make it easy, so let's use the old one that we've been using, right? So, and we click on that. So it's going to now dump it for us here. Yeah? So you have a new step definition created. I just click on next. So your code will be between the first brace that you have, the bracket, and the last one. Don't write your code outside, or it has to be after. Initially, this is what you might have. So you put your cursor at the end of the opening bracket, press enter. That should take you here. And in there now, you now need to write your driver dot find element. So then by dot link text. So we want to now say home. Okay, we can say dot click, and that's it. So that should help you to click on that one. So we can do the same thing for, and I click on the about. So this time around, I've told you about Alt Enter, I'm going to press Alt Enter, and I'll do the same thing. So as you can see, it brings that out for me, and I can say, okay, create my file, my step definition in this location, and you can see the same thing happens, and I can press Enter. And this time around, I'll just copy all these ones, to be honest. So I'll cut it and just paste it there. So this is going to do that. So now the next one, I will do the same thing for the last one now. I'll just say, and I click on some menu links. So this is where I want to put everything now. So I will do the same thing. That I click on the bulb, or let's say click on here, and okay. So, and I want to click. I remove this one. So, and okay, so there seems to be an error here. So, okay, I think it's fine. Okay, it's all good. So, and I still want to click some more. So that is that. So, and one thing that I have done is, which is totally wrong, is that I did not check. I'm using the text that is written at the top. Sometimes it might be different. So it's a good practice to right click and make sure that you check it, basically. So make sure you check it, that it is the right thing. For the about, let's say, where is that? Okay, so that is that about. So, and if you go up again, so it's good to check to make sure that you are copying the right thing, actually. So contact is contact, which is good. So it's okay. So, okay. So let's go. So I'm going to say event and contact. Okay. Now let's run it. Just right click and run it from here. You can see it's clicking everything. Okay, cool. Okay, and it's telling me that my test actually passed, which is brilliant. So, and you can actually extend. So actually see, so which is really brilliant, and it's cool. So, and yeah, now let's go to the next one now. Okay, we've seen link text in action. What are the other way to actually find your element? So the other way to find your element, let's go to our code. Let's say now I want to find, so I've clicked on this one now. So I need to also now type. Like I've told you, right? You are not going to be using link text for text. So what are you going to be using? Right click and say inspect element. Once it takes you to there, now you can see it's highlighted. Now right click again and now say copy. So you cannot copy as a selector, as a Xpath. That is one. And there are other way. So from there, you can copy the Xpath and you can copy the CSS selector. These are two ways. There are other ways which I'm going to show you, but let's start with those two right now. First one, let's start with Xpath. So you can find your element by Xpath. Right click and just copy Xpath. So, and you would go into your element, into your feature file. And then I want to, so let me delete these ones. So I want to find this particular element now. So I want to type inside this element. But as you know, I need to call my driver dot, I need to say find element. Then I need to say by what? By now, we've used link text. But now, because it's not a link, we want to find it by Xpath. So let's find it by Xpath. And you're going to say, okay, by what Xpath? So we open our code and you can paste your code in there. This is very, very important for you to look into what you are pasting. Like I said, that's very important. So you can see it's got that slash, double slash at the top, and it's got the star and this particular code that is closing at the end. And it's actually using an ID, basically. It's saying that, okay, look into the DOM, anywhere in the DOM, and now find me any element that's got the ID of this. But this is not using an ID, it's basically an Xpath. So, but bear in mind, sometimes when you are copying, it's got this particular code inside, this one. So if you look at what I copied, let me paste it somewhere. It's going to be a bit different. So that is what I copied, right? This is what I copied. But when I pasted it, IntelliJ is wise enough to put this particular slash at the end to serve as what in programming is called escape command. Basically, that's the escape key. So because if you look at it, it's basically like when you are writing English, right? When you write English and you say, a good example is Deji said, and you put command, coding is fun, okay? So that is good. And I can say, and you replied, nah, it is boring. Okay, this is still good. Okay, let's copy that and put it in a text box. Notepad. So let's say you say, yeah, did you say coding is fun? And but you replied, nah, it is boring. This is good, right? But if you now say, let's say, did you say, okay, let's undo that. Did you say coding is fun? And okay, let's say you said that you said coding is fun, and I put a comma, but can be boring. It said, okay. Or you don't even need to say it said, basically. They just said coding is fun, but can be boring. But however, you are putting them into two different places. But now, if you do something like this, it's okay, right? Because you can say that you said coding is fun and it can be boring. But what we are trying to say now, if you now put something like that, yeah, and you now say they just said coding is fun but can be boring. Basically, the question is like, what is this for? Basically, so it's like, who said this? Because this is there. So, for instance, you can say, okay, a good example is this: coding is fun in quotes. Yeah, Yeah, you said coding is fun. Fun as in quotes, but can be boring. This is good. But in English, it's fine. But in computer, it's not, because it could also mean that this is one quote and that is another quote. This one. Coding is fun is what they just said. And who said fun? And there's another one here. So that is what IntelliJ is trying to solve, basically, to say that, wow, there's one quote here and there's another one here. But this one inside is only for these two, basically. So for him to know that this one is for this, in that particular string, there is, in Java, there's an escape key, right? That's a slash. So it's saying that the beginning of my code is this, and the end of my code is this. This particular code here, please disregard them because it is not inclusive, basically. And we know that this code is only for this inner part. So bear in mind, if you copy anything that's got a quote inside and it's not escaping it for you, you might have to do it yourself. Okay, now let's go back to where we were actually. So now we've copied the Xpath and we pasted it, and we've said Mr. Driver should find it for us using this particular Xpath. Then it's still asking us, as you can see, the red line, that what am I going to do when I found it? We're going to now say, oh, okay. Is it going to click? No, because we don't want it to click. We want to type inside. We're going to say send keys. That's how to type. So you're going to say send keys. So what are you sending? So you're going to say, okay, well, open bracket, I am sending my first line. Let's say that's what my first line. Okay. So that is what you want to type. And then you can put semicolon at the end, which is good. So that is your first line that you are typing. Okay. That is one way. So my screen is not showing, so I'm going to unshare again and share again. So 1 minute. So can you see my screen now? Okay, cool. Okay, brilliant. Thank you. So yeah. So okay. What you can now see is like now we've been able to enter, okay, what we want to put on our first line. So let's try to, okay, now, so let's try to use something now. We say driver, let's try to see that our driver waits at that particular place, okay? So for it to continue. So we're going to say driver dot I think I mentioned wait for you before, right? So like I said, it is not a good way, but just for learning purpose. So we can see that we are waited. So let's go. Where's the wait? Okay. So how many milliseconds do you want to wait? Let's say that's the 5 seconds. So if you say 30 seconds, so it's 30,000 basically. So let's see what that is. Okay. All right. Let's wait that. Okay. It actually requires an interrupt basically, so that's fine. So okay. So you just need to click on IntelliSense and then throws interruption exception, which is okay. So, but this is just for us to wait. It's not part of what you don't need to worry about that. So let's try to run our test now. So run. So as you can see, it's got that. Okay, cool. So that is that. So the next thing that we want to do, let's say, then I close my driver. So basically, want to be out and I close my window. Want to be able to close the window when it's finished. So, and we're going to go in there. So I've told you the method to close that is the same driver, and then we just have to call the close one method, and let's see that now. Let's close this one. So however, it's going to wait. So let's reduce the number of waits in the one that we have at the top so that it doesn't wait too long. Wait 30 seconds. Let's put at 10 seconds. Okay. Apologies, I think our time is up, so I will take, if it's okay, I'll take another 15 to 20 minutes. If that's fine, let me know. So as you can see, that is it waiting. So let's go to, okay, it's actually saying the test failed. Let's see why. In the then clause. Okay, so what's that? That step was skipped. So it's not the owner. So basically, I think we have issues on this one. So, okay, we'll remove the weight and see what that is. So you see, it's got some errors. So we just need to see what the problem is. Okay. Okay, so I'm going to remove the wait for now so that we can continue. So 1 minute. So come back to that. I'll remove that. Okay, let's run it. So I'm expecting this to do its operation, then close the screen if that's fine. All right, cool. So that is brilliant. So that's fine. So now, so we've been able to do the close as well. So let's go to the find element. The next one now is let's find another element by ID now. So let's go to the screen. So the next one, let's try to look at this particular one. We'll come to this one. So let's try to look at this one. I'm going to open the in Chrome. Okay, so and find the element. Now I'm going to quickly go through different ways that you can actually find this particular element now. So you can find this element by class because it's got class. Class is Ninja, that one. So you can say find by class. You can say find by ID. We know the ID. You can also say find by name. It's got name. You can also say, yeah, you can also find it by CSS. We're going to look at that right now. Quickly, let's look at find by ID. So for you to find it by ID, I've already copied that. So I'm going to go to my code and I can say, so this time around, I'm going to say when I click on that and okay, with that and I enter email address. Let's do also think there's password and I enter word. So let's quickly do this once. Okay, so now enter email address. So driver dot find element. So by dot ID. And so I'll paste the ID that I've copied. That is the ID dot send keys. So what's my email address? My blue. So then that's what we want to do. Then the next one, let's go back again and do for the password as well. So for the password, we want to click, we want to create the one for the password. So we can say the same driver dot find element. So we're going to say sorry, by what? So this time around, let's go and check out what we can also use to find the password. So let's start inspect. So this is the password. Okay. So like I said, okay, we can find it by ID. Let's find it by name. So it's the same. So we can use find by name by dot, where's the name? Can you see that's the name? So you can then dot send keys. So what is the keys? So you can say my secure Okay.
I just need to do something quickly.
Okay, so then the next thing that we can also use, basically, I'm going to talk about the multi-select later, so in the next part. So let's look at this one as well. So let's say we click on this one. So how do we select this one? Let's say we right click and we right click. This time around, I want us to use CSS selector. Okay, copy selector. Okay, so you copy that and that's your selector. Go back to here and I want to so let's create this is radio button. Okay, so we can do the same thing, create step definition. So I think if you put your mouse on it, you can also see that Alt Shift Enter. So that should give you so Alt Shift Enter. So that should help you create more options. So and create new one, and that's it. So okay, now we can say driver dot find element. Now we said we copy CSS, so that's it. This time around, what do you want to do? You want to click on that particular element, so you can just say click. So that is that. So let's just try to run it. All right, cool. So that is that done. Brilliant. So which is good. So now I think that is the major one that you are going to be using. So and you have other ones. We're going to talk about find elements later. So I will be able to, so I've been able to do this. So now the question is like, why am I teaching all these things? And is it going to be applicable or is it useful? Not all of them are applicable, to be honest. So in some of the DOMs, you might have the first one to try is going to be the ID, because in your website, the ID should be unique as much as possible. So you would be using .id as much as possible. But we've seen some sites where they will not use ID. Developer, there's no ID. So you need to look at other ways to find your elements. So I would recommend after that, after ID, well, okay, you can use link text. It is link text also is not reliable. You know why? Because in a page like this, you can have different home buttons. But you want to be sure that you are clicking the right home buttons, or you can click the right event or the so it's going to look at the first one that's got that link and it's going to click it for you. So it's not that kind of reliable. So you would need to look at the best way. So if ID is not you are not seeing ID, so the next one that you might need to look into is either Xpath or CSS selector. So those are still reliable, but they've got their own deficiencies anyway. But I would say most often nowadays I either use CSS selector, to be honest, rather than XPath. But there's different school of thought about those tools. But I can recommend that the ID should be the first thing that you use. If the name is also unique, you go for the name. Then if you don't see the name, you go for the CSS selector or Xpath. The class name should be the last thing for you to use, to be honest. So have we used class name? Okay, we can look at that, because more often the class name is not always unique. So you have lots of places that you have the class name. But in some cases, you might also want to use it because, for instance, let's say I want to know how many menus I've got. So, and I know that all the menus has got the same class. So I can actually find my element by menu class. So it's going to return 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, or 8 for me. Then I can count that, okay, my menu has got 8 menus. That's one way, because in that case, you are not going to use find elements. You are going to use find elements. So we will start from there next week. So to actually see the complex one. So where in the next class, we're going to look into the combo box and select elements, and as well we're going to do the find elements, where you be able to actually get more than one element and you have to use an array to be able to get the right one. So for before then, I would advise you to look at the Java class that was done by Blue Sky, and look at the array part, because we are going to be using the array for next week. So what is array? How do you use array? So because that find elements is going to return an array to you, and you need to know how to find your element from that particular array. So that is where we're going to stop tonight. If there's any questions, so I think I've already answered your question, James, if that's okay. So this test, okay, all right. So someone is asking me which type of test I have done. This is not kind of, I can't categorize this particular test as anything, to be honest. So because I have been able to mix a lot of things together just for purpose of, okay, let me just fix this before now. Okay, I think, yeah. I've just been able to click around, basically. If you are to say, okay, I want to verify the menu works, then I think what I can say is like, let's say I commented all this one out. Okay. If I commented all this one out, this is basically, I can say, this is my menu test. This is my menu test. So I can have another scenario basically like this. So let's say I have two scenarios. So I can call this one now. This is form test. So why this one is menu test? So this one, I will remove this one away from there because someone actually asked the question. So, and I can delete all this one from this one. So, and then uncomment these ones. So now, so if you ask me what type of test I've done, right? So, okay, I need to put the close button also here. This is another thing about Cucumber. Basically, as you can see, I just copy and paste the code again without having to write. I just copy and paste the given when then without having to write the code again. And so that automatically binds, basically. So as from here right now, I've got two scenarios. The first one is testing the menu, just clicking the menu around, that's it, and closing the screen. And the second one is going directly and start to test the form itself. So I would say this is maybe form fields test. Okay. So I hope that answers that question, but it's a good practice to run my code. So let me run it now. So any question why I'm running that, so let me know. Okay, as you can see now, it's got two tests now, basically, instead of one that we had before. So because now I've got two tests that actually passed. So which is brilliant, basically. So, and if you go in there, you got two scenarios and you got 13 tests that passed, basically. So which is good. So, okay. So for next week assignment, basically, so it's for you to download. I'm going to push this particular code now, okay? So into Git. So you should download it. And so if I go to my terminal, so Git. Okay, this is not a repository. So I'm going to quickly create a repository for, okay, I think because I did not create one. So I'm going to create a repository quickly and push this inside it. So Git. Okay, so I'm going to put this one in a new repository, which is different from the one that I copied over. So I'm going to add this. So so okay, so I'm going to create that. So this is a new one. So then, so what I need to do now is to clone this particular repository. So this is what you should do. You should create your own repository as I've done, right? So once you've created your own repository as I've done, so you need to now click here and then, so this will be on your own repository, not on my repository, because you need to check it in on your own repository. So you click on in there and you copy that. Once you copy that one, you can as well go to a fresh location. So I'm going to say, okay, let's say this is my new location. I'm going to create a new, say, E0829. Okay, then I can do git batch here, git bash here, and then I can cd to, okay, I can say git clone. So now I want to clone that particular repository. So don't clone my own repository. This should be your own repository that you created. Okay, so and enter. So now this is cloned here, and you have this. So, and that is where you now need to paste what you got before, and that should replace what you have. So I'm just going to basically paste what I did just now. So which is in this location, master, example master. Okay, this one. Copy. I will push it there. Okay, so once it's there, I can so if I do git status, okay, git cd, I need to change to that repository. Okay, so I do git status. I've got all these files to be added, so I can do git add dot. So then git commit. So after that, I just need to push it. So before I did that, you can see it's got only this. So once I push, I think it should be able to see the next one, git push. Okay, so all right, that's it. So that's it, everyone. Thank you for the time. So you can copy this particular, I'll just send a link now. So you can copy this one. This is another repository, so which is different from the one we started from. So I'll paste it now. That is a new repository. So that one has got what we've done today. So like I said, I will be creating a new repository at the end of the class so that you can see what we did every week. So it's different from the one that I started from. For next week, I will start from this one and also create a new repository for another work. So, okay, so this is one for the find elements that we've been able to do today, and we're going to start from there next week. Assignment, sorry, before you guys leave, assignment is basically, so you need to, one, clone, you need to download that one, then two, create your repository, a new repository. After you created a new repository, you need to copy your downloaded file, the repo. Then number 4, you need to git need to commit it. You need to git git commit. Then git push. Then 7. This is where the assignment actually is. Then what you now need to do is to go to is to go to this particular page. So you need to write your given when then. Write scenario. The scenario is go to Blue Sky citadel.com. Then you need to click on event. And you need to now search for enter date and also search for keywords. Enter an event by date and keywords. That is the assignment. So, and need to collaborate within your team. So that is the assignment. So I know you've got teams, so I will prefer everyone be able to do it. So, but please ensure that you collaborate within your team and you're able to do it out. So that is the assignment for next week.